Okay, Dawn, thank you so much for being here today.
You're
Um,
welcome. Thank you for asking.
oh my gosh, of course. It is so exciting to have you here. And I will let you introduce yourself, tell us your name, where you are from, because this is from all over the world, and then also what you do, and kind of share a little bit more about what all of that entails.
Okay, so I'm Dr. Dawn Lanaville, and currently I'm located in the mountains of Virginia. I do a lot of expert witness testimony that requires a court report, and I'm starting to delve into writing a lot more about domestic violence, intimate partner violence, coercive control, and the people that perpetrate it.
This is so cool. Okay, how long have you been doing this for?
Uh, Forever.
Oh my gosh.
I've been in the field of psychology since my undergrad days. I mean, I jumped right in, and I have always worked in the field in some capacity throughout my whole journey.
Okay, yeah. So this is like, you know this stuff.
Yes.
Okay, and you kind of probably, I'm guessing, do you feel like you've seen a lot, seen it all?
I don't think you'll ever see it all, but yes,
Okay,
I've seen a lot. Yeah.
okay. Okay, based off of the unique work that you do and where you're from, what can you tell us a little bit more about how you see the issue of domestic violence and things that you wish people understood from your lens?
I see domestic violence in a very patterned way. I'm pretty adept with personality disorders, and so victims have their own personality characteristics, but abusers also have very specific personality characteristics as well. Um, I think that we know victims pretty well. We have a good handle on why they do what they do or say what they say. I think one shift in the past 10 to 20 years is that there's much less physical violence, there's more psychological warfare, there's more sexual assault, and it's more invisible. It's not like the old black eye days.
Yeah,
And so a big problem we have is overcoming that in the courtroom and saying, this is what it looks like now. This is what all of the research says about how it looks now.
I'm so curious. Do you have an understanding as to how or why that change happened over time? Or is it just something you know changed?
Oh, well, at some point, it just became more questionable if, your wife or the partner went shopping with a black eye and sunglasses and excessive makeup. People would ask questions. And so they don't do that anymore. And so we have invisible wounds.
I
We have
see.
sexual assault that doesn't leave anything that you can see. We don't have a broken arm. You can't see anything past what is not on their face as a mark. And so it's changed to avoid detection and it's become quite a bit more brutal.
Okay, okay. I know nothing, just being so transparent about you called them like you know what it is, the traits, did you say, of
Yes.
okay. Can you go into more depth about this? This is something I've never talked about before with anybody, and I have no knowledge of. So you start from the bottom with me.
Okay. So are you talking about like the perpetrator traits?
Yeah, and I'm curious because you said it was both, though, right? That you had a good handle on both victim and perpetrator. I just find that to be endlessly fascinating, and I would love to learn more about that.
Okay, so pretty much anybody that doesn't know or they haven't been involved in some kind of domestic abuse or an unhealthy relationship, they're typically not going to see it coming. It's very insidious. The onset is very insidious. And so they dismiss it somehow, as far as the victims go. They dismiss it. Um, some of the research that I'm involved in right now with perpetrators is that I'm finding they don't fall into any one personality disorder category.
Okay.
We have this big word out there called he's a narcissist, or it just keeps coming up as narcissism, and that's not it.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. You're gonna have to really break this down.
Yeah, so there are subtypes and there are classifications. And so they can look like borderline dependent or they can look like antisocial psychopathic. Um, we're starting to look at things like the dark triad and the dark tetrad. The dark triad is psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and narcissism.
Okay,
And
all
then
these words are going over my head.
too big? Should make it smaller?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that's all right. So when we're talking about types or sub or classifications, we're talking about personality disorders. In
Okay.
the DSM-5 TR that we work with now, we've got cluster B personalities.
Okay.
So those are the personality disorders. There is no such personality disorder as domestic violence abuser.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and so when you go through the research and they try and categorize them in any of these cluster B psychopathic or I mean personality disordered areas, they fall between all of the cracks
I
of
see.
any of those cluster B personalities.
Okay, as in you're finding that there's traits that people are able to pull from, but they're not meeting full criteria for any of them. Is that
Correct.
what you mean? Okay.
They're
Okay.
meeting criteria for two at a time or three at a time or bits and pieces from different ones. And so now we've got the concept of dark triad. That's where you get the
Okay.
commingling of symptoms. And then
Interesting. Okay,
now we
okay.
have the dark tetrad. So the dark tetrad is with the first three components, psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and narcissism. And then you add the component of sadism. And that's, yeah.
Okay, I have not heard of a lot of this. So,
Okay.
you called it Mac.
Machiavellianism.
Okay, what is this? I've never heard of this.
Machiavellianism is a person who's got a very cynical view of the world, and they think that because they're doing it, it's preventing somebody else from doing it to them. They're very callous and unemotional. And they kind of think like they're saving the day, but really it's for their own benefit.
I see. I see. Okay.
They're
Okay.
very calculating, cold, callous people.
Okay. So
So
this is
when
a
you talk,
trait.
yes, this is one of the dark triad traits.
Okay. And I'm so sorry. I'm really trying to follow with you here, but you called it like a dark triad and then you had said a something
Dark,
else.
dark tetrad.
A dark tetrad. Okay. What is a
Right.
tetrad?
Well,
That
let's get
I
back to the triad first
okay, okay,
and finish off with psychopathy and narcissism.
okay.
So narcissistic people demand all of the attention in the room. They've got to have all of the best things. They've got to rub elbows with all of the most important people. They've got to be seen and they have this very strong need to be accepted and liked as the best of the best. And psychopathy is a higher form of like antisocial personality disorder. They don't have any regard for the rights or the feelings of other people. They have that crossover trait of callousness. They can be very cold and calculating also. But the biggest thing with psychopathy is that they have no remorse, just no remorse whatsoever. Doesn't they don't comply with rules or laws or norms. So they just do whatever they want to do. They
So
have no
like
ethicals.
that would be somebody who could break the law or do something of that nature because for them, they don't care about the rules, don't apply to them, and they can
Exactly.
hurt you because when they hurt you or if they hurt you, there's no like if I hurt somebody, if I thought that, for example, I hurt you in any way, shape, or form, I it would physically hurt me. I would not enjoy the feeling inside of me. Whereas you're saying
Right.
this is somebody who they don't feel that.
Yep. It's just absent. It's absent.
I have so many questions about all of that, but I don't want to derail us, so I'm gonna just like I'm gonna keep all my questions in about that. And
Okay.
the next thing is the dark triad or no,
The tetrad. That's the fourth.
tetrad.
Mhm.
That's what tetrads means is for. Okay.
And so that's all of the other three with the component of sadism that's tacked on.
Okay.
So sadism is actually in the DSM as its own disorder.
Okay.
Um, but with the Dark Tetrad, it shows up for perpetrators of abuse as sexual violence, physical violence, animal cruelty, cruelty to the kids, abusing the kids to hurt the mom. And they enjoy it. Receive a personal gratification from seeing someone else's pain. That's their biggest thing. And so that's kind of been the shift that we've seen in the domestic violence landscape. We've got these two different areas that we need to highlight.
Okay, and maybe I'm getting too much into the weeds, and this is like, I don't know, not helpful to talk about, or please steer the conversation in a different way if this is unimportant. But I don't know why I'm just feeling curious about like how is this information being documented, tracked, researched? Like, how are we extracting that? How are we learning this?
So, in the research that I've been doing, because I've got this book that I'm working on with my client, and then I've got another book that I'm working on specific to those two areas. And there's been a lot of recent research. It seems like the field is kind of reaching for answers. Like they know these things need to be defined better, and we've got to find a way to test it. We've got to find a way to prove it scientifically, gather data and statistics that, we would get from their background, some kind of scientific measures that are not yet available. And the research is really coming out in the very recent past, like in the past 2 years is what I'm finding.
Stop. Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
it's really starting to come out. Yeah.
Do you have any sense of why now or how now? Like, is it obvious to you the push?
It's not obvious. If I had to guess, I would think that certain court cases with domestic violence that are gaining a lot of attention, they're having a hard time defining the abuser.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
yeah, I think some people are catching on that that's the case. I'm not really sure, but that's kind of my over the top sense.
Sure, sure. Hard to say, but for whatever reason, it's really good news, right? Like
Yeah,
amazing.
it is. It
Are
is.
you are you one of a few or do you feel like you're one of many who are thinking about these things and understanding it the way that you are and like contributing to the research right now?
Um, I am doing my best to contribute to the research. I have not found a whole lot of other people that are, eyes on. That doesn't mean I'm the only one out there. It just means that I
Sure.
haven't connected with them yet. And so, if I go through my little research file and I just decided to email any one of those authors of those recent research papers, I'm guessing I could connect a little bit better. I haven't had time to do that, but I think they would work with me or maybe ask me to help out with that.
Yeah, I was just curious, like how many boots are on the ground taking it, from this angle, because I really do think so, not just fascinating and interesting, but like very, very important work that you're doing. Um, can you speak a little to how you have seen your work and this newer research coming out impact like real lives?
There's not enough of it out there yet. I can tell you what I see that's missing in the courtroom. What's missing is that these people have the ability to play these roles in the courtroom, and then they go out into the world. They can behave for an hour or two, or even a day in the courtroom, and then they go outside of the courtroom and they violate all of the court orders. And we've got the victim that looks one way, and they're terrified, obviously. And they look scared, they look impaired, and then you've got this abuser saying she's crazy, adding to the picture. And so the spotlight shifts to her, or typically, statistically, that's correct. The spotlight shifts to her and stays on her as being an inadequate parent. And we've got this one other person just commanding the whole room. And so that's kind of what it looks like when we've got this undiagnosed person here and nothing really fits or applies. And then we know the victim's probably got PTSD pretty bad, but that doesn't make them an ineffective parent. And so trying to reconcile that and bring this awareness to a judge or to a guardian ad litem, for example, that's something that we need to shift our focus to. We know a little bit about abusers or victims, and we can kind of talk about that, but we also need to talk about the offenders and shift that spotlight back to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you did talk too, right, about we know the traits about victims. Do you find that to be helpful to talk about, or would that be okay?
Yeah, yeah. So um, the traits of victims they're not really there. I mean, there's really not a whole lot wrong with them other than by the time they get to me, they've got some pretty significant PTSD.
Okay.
Uh, and that's something that's fixable. You know, personality disorders are not fixable for the most part. They are lifelong. You can maybe improve on the symptoms if that person really wants that to happen. But the victims are, they're in these relationships because they don't think like this person over here who's damaged, who's very, in a different world. And so they do things a little bit at a time, and they test boundaries and limits a little bit at a time, and they teach fear a little bit at a time. And they try one tactic that works, and they try another tactic that doesn't work, and they are constantly shifting how they manipulate their victim in these positions. So it's just a very insidious onset. It can happen to pretty much anybody.
Right. Quite literally anybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Please feel free to like move things in any direction that you feel is more relevant because I truly do not, I don't think, fully grasp all of the things that you know and do. So I'm just I'm just throwing questions out there, but one of the curiosities that I'm having is like I really don't know. I'm not familiar with mood disorders like or anything in that section of the DSM-5. That is not an area I'm confident in or know much about. So like do you have any insight into, I don't know how else to say it other than to say like what makes an abuser? Like how, because I'd like to believe you're not born that way. I'd like to believe in like the infinite potential of every newborn, right? That it's not like a destiny.
No.
Right. But like what, I mean, it's so cheesy, not cheesy. I don't know. The whole like what happened to them question or like how does somebody end up with this collection of traits? Um, and I a follow up to that would be you mentioned they're not going to change unless they really, really want to, or it's going to be a lot harder for them to heal, so to speak. And if you could touch on that too, like why would that be hard to heal from? Because it is not an easily treated situation, how should anybody and everybody, whether it's like the police, a judge, the cops, family and friends, a victim, whoever it may be, a therapist, et cetera, that are working around this issue, how would that be a helpful thing for them to consider when they're facing this issue and working with people on either side of the equation? That was a lot of questions.
Well, and we can break it down again, if I forget to answer some component of that. But for me, it's pretty simple as far as personality disorders go. There is a consistent disruption of attachment, or there are multiple disruptions of attachment,
That's what
or
causes it.
or there's an attachment that's never formed.
Okay, okay, okay.
So, for example, I had a client one time whose mom was very mentally ill, and he was placed with a relative. And for the first year of his life, nobody took care of him. There was no contact, there was no care, there was no responding to any of his needs. And then after that year, one of the parents got custody, became responsible, but we don't know what happened in that first whole year of life.
Got it. Okay, okay.
Right. And then, like, for another person, you'll see repeated disruptions of attachment. Like, the parent comes and goes because of substance abuse. They abandon their child over and over because of substance abuse. Or you've got in another case where they're, having problems and the child is abused. The child is repeatedly abused and not protected. And so it's these disruptions of attachment, absence of attachment, and those things are critical in the development of a stable personality. They need a consistent, stable caretaker. And if they don't have that, then you see issues that arise in childhood. And then you see other issues arise in adolescence. And we know that by about age 10, personality is pretty well formed.
Okay, so if whatever attachment disruption has not been corrected by age 10, it gets iffy.
Yes. I'll give
Okay,
you another example, like for psychopathy or antisocial personality disorder, those are not the same. But there's a genetic component for an antisocial
okay,
personality.
there is.
There can be. That's addressed in the DSM. And then the rest can be nurturing. So if you have an antisocial parent and that antisocial parent also raises you, the chances that you're going to become antisocial are pretty big. So
Okay, okay.
yeah, um,
Oh, that is
borderline
so
people.
interesting.
Yeah, borderline people are very unstable as parents. They're in and out of your lives. They're very demanding of everyone's attention, and then rejection comes along with that. Very, very unstable, constantly, moving and shifting. And that child never really gets to attach to that parent because of their mental health issues. And so, they go along another trajectory. So that's kind of where it progresses. And so to get back to your other question of how do we know this in a courtroom, I had a case a couple of years ago. In the court documentation itself, the judge identifies, well, you don't exactly graduate from such and such high school because you were good. It was known as an alternative high school. That was her clue that this person, as a juvenile, was misbehaving in school and got kicked out to an alternative school.
I
That
see.
was a
Okay.
clue in the court record. And then for that same case, there were between 20 and 50 court filings by the one parent against the other parent. That in itself is like what we call legal stalking or custody stalking.
Mm,
And then the judge notes in the court documentation as well a history of the family domestic violence. So when you see these breadcrumbs in this person's history, it adds up to say, this is how he could have turned out.
absolutely. Okay. Do you feel like it is pretty, like, do you trust that on an average given day when you're confronting this situation or this problem, this issue, that you're like, no, what? I trust the people that I'm working with. I trust that I can say what I need to say. I can advocate for what I need to advocate for, and I trust the people around me. Or do you feel that it's like very arbitrary? Like it kind of depends on who I'm around. And some people maybe for whatever reason are not gonna, it doesn't matter what you say.
And in what sense are you talking about?
Because you, oh my gosh, I want to hold, let me back up for a second and make sure. I'm imagining that you are in like a courtroom, right?
Right.
Is that okay? Yes. So you're like facing lawyers and judges, and I'm imagining you like directly addressing them and speaking to them,
Yes.
advocating on behalf of whoever it may be. Do you feel like when you are speaking with them that they, nine times out of 10, most of the time you can trust, hey, they'll listen as long as I can say what I need to say. I trust that they will take that into consideration. It makes a difference. Or do you feel like it really depends on who the judge is, or it's kind of hit
Yeah.
or miss?
It's very much hit or miss. Um, what I'm seeing and what research also supports is that sometimes people in the courtrooms, whether it be a guardian ad litem or a judge, some states require a lot of training. Some states require less training. Some judges feel like they've had enough training, but this is such a nuanced field that um, I think it needs to be done yearly, and there needs to be a lot more needs to be done. I find that some guardian ad litems are better than others, and some of them really believe that they know enough, but they don't understand how nuanced it is, or how everything is shifted in this very significantly different direction. And so I do my best to use the most recent research, things that say the same thing over and over again, like you can't disprove this, and you can't disprove this, and this is what supports it, and this is what you're seeing. So that's kind of what my job is in the courtroom, is to hopefully get my words in and help educate or inform. Judges don't like to be educated. So
Really?
yeah, yeah.
That is so interesting to me. Why do you think that is?
Uh, in one case, it was specifically stated. I think I've had enough domestic violence training where I would recognize it if it were in front of me.
Oh no.
Yes, and I will throw in that I feel like I'm pretty socially and culturally aware, and my client was a Black female, and the judge was not of that persuasion, so to speak. And then we had that dark triad person over here controlling the courtroom. And I will say that when you walk down the hall to this particular courtroom, it is lined with between 20 and 30 old portraits of previous judges, and they're all white, except for
Oh,
one female who's also white. And so I would like to also bring that to the forefront. You've got to understand and be culturally aware of who your client is, and understand that she may get treated differently. It's very different in each case. It's just very different. I have had judges that have listened intently, and they've taken copious notes, and that's always a great sign.
sure. Yeah. So it can go the other way.
Yeah,
But it sounds like it's arbitrary and it just kind of depends.
yes.
And are you in the same building, kind of cycling through the same people over and over again, or do you travel around a ton, or how does that work for you?
I'm an empty nester, and so I'm allowed to go wherever I want to go.
Okay. So do you find that you're actually in many different courtrooms,
Yes,
even like many different district cities?
yes.
Do you travel like state lines even?
Yes, I do. I still hold
Wow.
my license in North Carolina. It's active, and so I still have judges and attorneys that have my phone number, and they'll call me up and they'll say, "Hey, I've got this case." I've got judges that rely on me for my opinions sometimes down there. I'm called down there for competency exams, criminal types of evaluations, um, and sex offender cases. Yes, I do travel. People know who I used to be and who I am now, because I've been in and out of law enforcement as well.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so I travel.
Okay. So then, with the traveling that you do, or the different places that you go, do you feel though like you still kind of have a sense of, okay, when I go here, I'm over here, I kind of know who these people are. I know the ones that are more likely to listen versus the ones that are just not gonna Okay.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you ever find that you are able to talk about that with your client? Or is this just something you're like, I just know in my head what this is going to be, but it doesn't feel like you can share it with your client?
I'm always as honest as I can be with them. I'm not sure how else to answer that. It kind of depends on the different players and the attorney that my client has. you never know what's going to come out of a defense attorney. And so that's always kind of a crapshoot, so to speak. But I've got some judges that I've appeared in front of more and more, and they're listening more and more. And so that's helpful. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, the more you know the attorneys, the more they call you and they already know what you know and they can expand on that. So that's been pretty helpful too.
Okay. So really like anywhere else in life, anything else in life, just you building those relationships and that rapport
Yes.
has made a difference. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. What are some of the things that you feel like come up all the time that you're just like, this is just repetitive. This is always in every case that I have, or I don't know, just almost like you can predict it to be, if there
Yeah,
is anything like that.
there absolutely is. So with these abusers, they follow a playbook. It is so consistent.
That is the
I
third time
wrote,
I've heard that today, that exact phrasing, that it is a playbook.
it is a playbook. It is a playbook.
Okay, now I believe
And
it.
I don't even think it's intentional. I just think that
Really?
yeah, they have learned that this works and they've learned that through their lives. Um, I wrote a piece today on a representative in the House who, there's domestic violence alleged, and the first thing out of their mouths is, well, she's got some mental health issues. It sets the stage every time.
You can just predict that.
You can predict that. And then, there's always an explanation for the hot water incident. Well, we were horseplaying in the kitchen. This is in the article. This has been widely reported on all of the major news networks now. And what really happened was we were playing with a water faucet spigot, and there's no way that could have produced scalding water. And then if I say it didn't happen, well, that means it just didn't happen. So that's pretty consistent. I said it didn't happen, so therefore it didn't happen. She's lying. But that first statement comes out every time. Well, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but she does have mental health issues. You just did make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
She doesn't have any mental health issues.
And if she does, you cause them.
Right. And today with that person, another previous relationship came out in which he was accused of being violent or aggressive. And
Interesting.
so that hit one of the biggest news providers in the industry. And so I updated that article today. And there are calls for this person to leave the race now, which I hope go unanswered. And so then you've got a family member that's, chiming in and saying, we've been worried sick about this, our loved one for X amount of years,
Oh,
and
wow.
we're not going to litigate this in the media. That's the protective parent speaking or the protective grandparent speaking. And the mom saying, I don't want to bring this attention to my child. And that's the protective mom speaking. And then he's over here saying, I'm gonna open up a Dropbox link and show you all of my evidence. There's electronic stalking. He just opened the door for electronic stalking. In this
Wow.
case, it's alleged that there was a weapon that was pointed to her head. And again, widely reported across multiple news agencies consistently. And from his statements, the gun thing just didn't happen. If there's a gun involved, the victim is, I want to say, 700 times greater at risk for death, for femicide.
Okay. Okay. That's
Any mention of a gun,
scary.
yes, any mention of a gun is hands down, all hands on deck now. Yeah,
Like you should really, really take that serious if you or a loved one has
yeah,
that come up as a part of the situation. Like that, if leading up to that point you weren't
yeah,
worried, get really worried.
yes. And I have had clients with those conditions present, and they've been terrifying. So the other big one is strangulation. So
Yeah.
when you think about the threat of lethal force, guns are obviously on the top.
Okay.
strangulation is second.
Okay.
The second most lethal form of abuse towards domestic violence victims. Um, I attended a training a while back. I don't have the research on it, but the training said that by the time a woman has been strangled and police are informed, it's already happened 7 times statistically
Mm,
on
okay.
average. So yeah.
Sorry, I just have so many questions that keep popping into my head. When you talk about like several times by the time it got to the police, do you think that that's because it truly has not been reported, or is there any possibility that it has been reported, like a call has been made, but like no documentation had been made? Or is that, am I being paranoid?
No, I think from what I've read, I think that that is probably, and I'm going to hypothesize on this a little bit. Based on my experience or what I've known and what I've read, I think that strangulation causes the ultimate fear other than a weapon. And if you're being strangled, you don't talk to anybody. Your family doesn't know. You're not going to call the police, or he's going to do that again. And, above all, what I've learned from victims is that they've got to leave on their terms and on their timing.
Yeah.
And so, if strangulation, if she survived the first one, she's going to start making plans. If she survives the second one, she's going to intensify the plans if she can. There may be no resources or way out for her at that time. So it's just a matter of timing and hopefully keeping her safe. By the time law enforcement intervenes, hopefully they'll see the signs like a hoarse voice or a loss of bladder control. They've wet their pants. And hopefully,
Oh,
yeah, redness, which can be harder to tell with darker skin tones, a hoarse voice. Hopefully, they'll pick up on those very minute cues to ask
yeah.
more questions and slip them a business card with a name and number on it.
Okay. Because this always comes up, right? This idea of how difficult it can be to, okay, now I know what's going on. I don't feel safe. I want to leave, but XYZ, whatever barriers are in the way, right?
Mhm.
Um, I don't like, do you have any experience or wisdom or things to share about resources or just thoughts you have as far as making a safety plan, what that really could look like, or what you found to be helpful, or just seeing work for other people?
It's really hard. I actually escaped from someone about 40 years ago. So I had my own little process of applying for student loans, applying for grants, figuring out how to get a vehicle. I had called a homeless shelter and stayed there for 30 days. And so now we look at, okay, what resources do you have immediately available? Are you working? Do you have a vehicle? Can we get you away long enough and get a protective order in place? Even though that's a piece of paper, it's a part of a document trail. It's something. Where are your relatives? Who are your closest friends? Let's network these things together. Let's find the domestic violence house in your area or the hotline in your area. And we just kind of build and see what resources are available to them. We're struggling right now. I say that we as a nation, we're struggling because they're playing with the funds in Washington right now. And so everything's really unstable. Um, but I do know there's a really good network in the city where my office is. And I feel like the sheriff's department in my own county here is very responsive. So I think things are improving, but we need to explore their immediately available resources first and then work on the plan. And then, they're going to be scared to death. And so you've got to let them come to their own timing. That's where their timing is critical. It can't be yours.
I think that is so powerful to remember and to really
It
keep in
is,
mind.
it's really, really important to just, in that case, be the support, be the support. have them have different supports that they can reach out to at different times. We're here when you're ready.
Because do you hear ever in the work you do from anybody ever, why doesn't she just leave? Does that question come up?
Yes. In fact, it came up with a colleague recently, and I just kind of gave them a barrage. Like, you don't know when it's her, when she's able to leave. Under the circumstances that he presented, she had no family members left. She's now been pregnant 3 more times. So there are, three kids in the mix, and she's not working. And this guy has got a mental illness that's diagnosable other than what we've talked about. Like, there's some psychosis with this man. And so it was something that he didn't even think about at all. She had nowhere to turn at that particular moment. And if there were three kids and, nobody really knew, what are the chances that they happened by sexual assault? So
Mm.
there are so many components about that timing, just so many.
Oh, sorry, my cat's just got in a fight. They're a little bit spicy right now. Hey, okay, sorry. Um,
Well, if you hear it bark, I've got a canine somewhere in the house.
do you? What kind of a
Yeah,
puppy do you have? Or
I
canine?
have an Akita.
Oh, okay. What's their name?
Tala. She's 3 years old and she's about 100 pound for a baby.
Oh my gosh, so she's big.
She's big.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
And
wish.
loud.
Don't they say that is like one of the best protections, though, even if
Oh
it's
yeah.
like whatever kind of dog, just to have a barking dog?
Yeah. But the big deep barks, you should see the poor FedEx
Oh
guy.
no.
Oh yeah. They're just
Oh,
like running and dropping things at the door.
that is so funny.
It is.
Oh, I love animals. Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
God, that just so randomly brought another question that is such a
Me
like
too.
sidetrack.
Brought a whole new topic up for me too.
Because, okay, I don't know where you were going with it, and I'd rather follow your train of thought,
Go
but
ahead and ask. Go ahead and ask your question.
it occurred to me. I was like, oh my God, as we're sitting here talking about our pets, I'm like, that's another barrier, right? For people so
Exactly.
often, even if it's not necessarily that children are involved, it can be just as painful when you have a pet.
Very much so. So now we're going to go back to that sadism component.
Oh,
So there are
I don't
things
like where
that
this is going.
well, this is reality. This
Yeah.
is what our clients experience. And so let's look at it
Yes,
pretty
please.
gently. I'll try and do it gently,
No,
but
no, bring it.
so I had a client in the past couple of years, and she was pretty numb. Her PTSD numbness was very, very present until she talked about their dog and what her ex did to the dog in punching and kicking the dog. And she started crying and just sobbing because she was reliving the moment when she heard her dog whimpering and crying in pain. She just broke down. And then with another client long ago, the family dog's tail was broken when they came home. Unfortunately, that mom eventually lost custody and didn't have the finances to keep the case going. So since that time, that same perpetrator is now with somebody else and has two puppies in the home. And he put his hands over the puppies' snouts both at the same time so that neither one of the puppies could breathe. So these things are messages to children, they're messages to their partners. If I can do this to the pet, guess what I can do to you? And the threats are made. They're implied or they're stated, and a lot of victims will not leave their pet behind. So it is a barrier. So it's one of a couple of things. The perpetrator is abusing the animal to send a message to the victim or to the kids, or he's also saying, I can also do this to you.
Yeah.
And no, you don't get to take the dog with you.
Right,
No.
right.
And so
Holding
then
them
they stay.
hostage.
So
Yeah.
they stay because they love that pet. That pet is a family member. It's their other fur child. So they don't go.
Ah,
And so
so
they from
sad.
there. Mhm.
have only, and I'm not saying there are not more, I hope there are more. I've only just come across the one person that I saw on LinkedIn that like their focus and their mission or whatever it was they were doing had to do with. I have to go back and look at it again closer because now I'm doubting if it was just legislation they were working on or if it was that in combination with like an actual program or service they did. But it was just one person that was focusing on the pets.
That sounds very familiar, and I may have dropped a comment on that particular article.
Really, I'm trying
Yes,
to remember where it was
it's a
from.
law. It's a new law. It's named after a woman, and the animal abuse was ignored in the case. It was not considered, and she's dead.
Oh
And I
my
don't remember the
God.
woman's name, but it's such and such law, like Grace's law or something. We're probably both read it.
Okay, yeah.
It's a new law. I don't remember where it's at, what state, if it's in this country,
Right.
but the animal abuse was not considered as part of the domestic violence picture.
Okay, and so she stayed and now she's dead.
Yes.
And that's
Or
what
I
supported
don't
this legislation from pushing through.
either that or the judge didn't give her a protective order because of it. There are many different ways that that could have gone. But, the point was that the judge in the case did not consider the animal abuse as part of the domestic violence or intimate partner violence picture.
Right, like they're thinking to themselves, what are
It
you
doesn't
coming to
count.
me about this animal? I don't deal with animals.
Right.
They're not
Right.
hurting you.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Having no clue that animal abuse is a huge predictor of psychopathy.
This is like, okay, I don't know why it's so hard for me to wrap my head around it, but it really makes me wonder, like, okay, so if you're the judge that thinks this, and that's kind of the conclusion or the judgment you're having about the situation, what is that saying about you? Like, is it truly just you don't have the education and it really just it's that simple? Or like, because my brain is like, are you a weirdo? Like, should we be worried about you? Do you have something going on?
It could be both. I've seen it
Okay.
happen. I've seen it happen, unfortunately.
Because
But
that's
yeah,
terrifying to think of, like, not just the fact that anybody can be affected by this issue and, you just never know, but like, then the people that you go to for protection or the people that we count on to be creating justice, right?
mhm,
That they themselves actually could be behind closed doors or in private,
it
unknown.
could be. I would like to think that that happens far less often than the absence of education or knowledge about animal cruelty being
Okay.
part of psychopathy. I think a lot of professionals I know don't put that in the picture. They don't know to factor that into the whole picture. So I would prefer to think that it's just a judge's lack of awareness, or maybe they've been on the job too long and they've seen everything, or they think they have. Things like that do happen. So
Got like numb to it almost, like their threshold went up
yeah,
or
I
whatever.
had
Okay.
yeah, and sometimes they do think that they've had enough training, and that piece didn't make it into the training. So I would hopefully think that they're just ill-informed, and one person can whisper in their ear and say, no, this is important.
When you say trainings, do you have any sense of where they are getting these trainings from or who the trainers are? I only ask because in the, I don't know, whatever, 10, 20 past years that I've been in school or somewhat connected to this work in some capacity, I the only like good trainings that I really feel were amazing and just did a phenomenal job were only by people in places that like this is what they did. Like
Yes.
this is their mission. They don't do anything else. This is their expertise. They would give phenomenal trainings, but any other like I don't mean to sound like I'm so minimizing anybody else, but that is
No.
just my experience as anybody else's trainings were not good,
Um,
even harmful.
the NCJ, FCJ, and I'm going to look that up really quick to get exactly what that stands for.
Yeah, because it just makes me
So,
curious, like when we are thinking about police being trained or social workers or guardian ad litems or judges or whatever it may be, like, well, what kind of training are we talking about here? 'Cause
yeah.
it's
So
definitely
the NCJ, FCJ is the national, oh, come on, make it easy for me, please. The National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges. They provide national training all the time, and it is geared towards judges and attorneys and guardian ad litems. Right now, actually, I think it's in September, the CCAW, the Conference on Crimes Against Women, is going to be held in Dallas. That's more geared towards law enforcement.
okay.
And another excellent source of training. They have fantastic training on strangulation, on animal cruelty, on investigation, and looking at the scene when when you arrive, and how to treat victims, and all of the things. They've got the handouts that they give to their officers about how do you approach and interview this person, how to be most effective with victims. But the NCJ, FCJ provides all of the training to the judges. Well, not all, but a lot of excellent training to the judges,
Good.
attorneys, guardians ad litem. They actually have two excellent manuals that are available online. And I use their manual
Oh,
to set
wow.
things up. Yeah, because they
Okay.
actually in their manual go through, this is what a victim looks like in court. This is what an offender looks like in court. This is what a kid looks like in court. This is what your order has to include. These are the questions that you need to ask. And this is the kind of visitation you need to set up. It's really excellent, really excellent stuff.
How do kids show up in court? What does that look like?
So they're really careful with kids in court. Sometimes they'll do an in-chamber kind of thing where the kids are just with the judges. They try to keep them away from the abusers as best that they can. Unfortunately, I see a lot of children dismissed if they're young. Right now, I've got an under five. So their verbal skills are limited. Their ability to talk about what's happening to them is limited. Um, but you've really got to have a lot of experience as a judge to be able to talk to a child. You've got to have an excellent guardian ad litem that is there with that child, who understands this child's, situation. Um, the best guardian ad litem I've worked with went to another state to visit his child client
Oh,
and
wow.
couldn't get her to tell him anything, even though they would take a walk, away from dad's home. He couldn't get her to talk. It's because her brain was so damaged from the abuse. So I would see the mom ask her a question like, "Can you tell her about that time?" And then the girl would tell me a 10-minute story with all of the details in it.
Wow.
And she would prompt her again. What about that one time about the cemetery? That's a good story. Yeah. And so then she would give me another 10-minute story about all of the places involved with getting to the cemetery, when they got left behind at the cemetery, just weird stuff. And so when the guardian ad litem learned that she needed prompting, and then she would tell you everything, he got better. He got even
Nice.
better. But he was actually traveling to another state when that child was visiting her dad.
Wow.
Yeah, he was fantastic. So impressive. He just couldn't figure out how to talk to her. And all of the testing showed she's a brilliant girl, but she's not really good with verbal skills.
I love to hear that. I love to know that from what you've seen, that it's not like all bad and that there is
Yeah,
hope and that people do care. And obviously, it's not everybody, but
yeah,
because I
yeah. And
think,
I've seen some bad ones as well.
That's, I think, part of what burned me out was feeling like so irrational and not, you know what I mean, just in my head about it or whatever. But I do think that that's what contributed to my own burnout with this issue and having to step away from it for a few years was just feeling like they all suck. Like there's no, like that all or nothing thinking. So,
It's a hard field, and I can't tell you how I'm able to do it. I can't, I don't have a good answer for it. I've just been able to, I don't have any history of childhood things. I think I get more interested in the perpetrator and it draws me in. And I've been hearing trauma stories since roughly 95.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
not to date myself or anything, but
That's a long time
again,
though.
starting in undergrad, I jumped right in and I worked for one psychologist and then I went to law enforcement and then I worked for another psychologist after I got my master's and just back and forth until I got that doctorate. And so I've heard the most amazing trauma stories from little kids, moms, victims. I have met two young males that I'm pretty sure will be serial killers. Could have talked to them for days.
Really?
Yeah, I could have talked to them for days. So I don't know how I don't know how I'm able to listen, but I understand your burnout. It does happen. And
Yeah.
that could speak a little bit to the judges that aren't listening or they shut down or they're not doing their job as effectively. They could be burnout. It
That's
could be
actually
burnout.
like duh, right? Of course, it
Yeah.
could be.
Yeah. I do know of a judge that happened to, although he would never admit it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is just, yeah, incredibly painful work. Like, I don't know, even when you were sharing about the animal stories, it was taking a lot in me, right? Just, I don't never met these animals. I'm sure I
Yeah.
don't even know half of the details, but even just you skimming the surface of that story. Yeah. So it's just when you're in it and you're actually like, you've met the person, you know their name, you've seen their face, you're hearing their story from them, and you're day in and day out going down that journey with them and having to see and hear in real time their barriers that they're facing and the ongoing struggles and the fear. I mean, it's just, and then when there's like systemic barriers on top of layered over all of that, that you're also facing disbelief or stigma or myths or just straight up funding issues or lack of resources. It's like, I don't know. I just got for sure to a point where my continuing education course, I'm titling it Beyond the Abyss, Reclaiming Compassion, because that's what it feels like to me. I feel like I had been screaming into the abyss. I burned out, and now I am like reclaiming my action on the empathy that I feel for the suffering again. But I can't do it client facing. I don't know that I'll ever go back. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I will. I just know right now this is how I can get back into it is through like interviewing people like you and learning and spreading that message. And then I can teach. I know I can teach, that I can do. But
There's your way to contribute.
yeah,
And
it's,
I'm really glad you're talking about it and sharing it openly because I'm sure you're not alone.
I can't imagine I am. And
No.
truly, whoever is in the field doing what you do, or so close to the work in that very like client facing way, I swear I'm just like, you guys are my heroes for real, because like I wish that I could. We need you. Do you know what I mean? Like I wish there was a million of you, like exactly you, just sprinkled all in the court system. Um,
I have a hard time with I like to stay humble.
oh,
I really do. It's hard for me to accept compliments, but thank you.
yeah, no, because I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be just me. I really don't think it is. Maybe it is to some degree. I'm not sure, but I promise in the work that I do as a therapist and a social worker, I come across so many other of my peers in consults or whatever it may be where I could tell you, like, they'll say things all the time, like, I didn't get any education, or I got like one class in that one semester, that one time, right? And it's just not,
Yeah.
it's not a subject they feel super solid in. And so, yeah, no, people just they don't understand it. There isn't enough education, there aren't enough resources. And so, I truly do believe people like you who, for whatever reason, you do get it and you are able, on top of that, to give back in the way that you are, it's your gold. Your gold.
Thank you. I I hear on occasion that I have a positive effect.
Yes. And it's, I think, so interesting, this conversation that we had. I'm going to have to play it back, honestly, because a lot of those words were going over my head. You did explain it very well, though, in a way that I think I can grasp, and like I'm going to rewatch and try to keep letting it sink in. Um, but I would, yeah, I'd love to stay in touch with you. I'd love to, if you're
Yeah.
willing in the future, ever even return and come back for a future conversation. If you know anybody who you think would be a good fit for this that would want to do it, I totally trust you if you want to send them to my
Okay.
website. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, when I was talking about those terms, I realized in the moment that I was talking over a lot of people's heads. So, I mean, if we need to go back and, do a little massaging of the information or breaking it down a little bit further, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, let me definitely, because I will, I'm gonna go back and rewatch this because I think I really want to utilize, if it's okay with you, things that I learned from this in the training I'm developing right now, actually, because I want to speak to, I want to help people really grasp the difference between your average everyday. You and I could get in a fight about whatever because we're people, and people get tired and hungry and stressed out and hyper aroused, and anybody is capable of losing their cool, right? Like, but that's not necessarily the underlying motivation, isn't necessarily all of these traits that you were talking about. Um,
Right.
and so, yeah, I just want to paint that picture so clear in my training. That's really important to me. And I've never heard it explained in the way that you explained it. I'm trying on my own to like do own self study and understand it the way that I can. But yeah, I'm very grateful to have heard it directly from you. Somebody
Yeah.
that's like, no, this is what I do.
Where are you doing your training? In what locations are you doing your
So
training?
I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota. And so the
Oh,
continuing education credits that I would provide are approved through like Minnesota Board of Social Work. So I'll just be providing them here locally in the Twin Cities. And then I don't know if anybody will ever take me up on it, but I'm also offering to do like a retreat style. So, his self-care is so important to me, and I want to practice what I preach. So if a group of folks wants to get together and do it in a retreat style, I have it set up where we would do 6 hours of my training one day, and then the following day we would be with like essentially a somatic healer, who can do sound bowls and different things, to kind of reset their nervous system. And it would be in like a cabin in the middle of the woods, and fire pits, and they have saunas and like red light therapy and walking trails by the water. And I would hope that it would feel like a retreat. So I'm offering it that way too. But
that sounds pretty amazing.
I hope it does turn out to be. It's so funny because I've put it out there in the world. It's on my webpage as if, and I haven't written it yet. I'm still writing it. But it's incredible to me that as long as I started trying to put it together so long ago, and I would argue I'm not even halfway done because I keep being like, no, I can't say it like this, or I have to start with this. The writing process has been way more overwhelming than I could have ever. I've never done anything like this before, and I did not know what I was getting myself into.
It
Is
sounds like a good project that you should finish it.
Oh, I'm
You'll get it really
committed.
good.
I'm
Yeah,
committed.
good.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. I think I'm
That sounds good.
struggling from perfectionism a little bit too with it because I care so much and I want it to be perfect. And I think that's another thing I have to get out of my head, that like, it's not going to be perfect.
No.
It's just
And
not
you're going
gonna.
to have to wing it at times. You're going to have to wing it.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's very important.
Well, I'm definitely, yes, committed to it and looking forward to doing it. And conversations like this, I think, are really going to help me deepen my understanding and make it an even better training. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your light. And I hope whatever you do. Oh, actually, before I let you go, I don't feel like I really, because I like to end these conversations and we started to kind of touch into it, but if you're willing to speak to what you do for self-care.
Um, I like tequila,
Tequila.
but I think I'm in the gym probably 5 to 6 days a week.
Okay, okay.
And I mix it up with, a good hard cardio workout. And then I lift weights often. And I
Okay.
like to walk my dog in the evenings to get rid of the last bit of the day's stress and anxiety, get all of that just kind of worked out, take in some fresh air, a little bit of sunshine. I love to hike. I love to bike. And so the things for my self-care are very physically active. I
Everybody I've
just,
been talking to has been saying some form of activity as their self-care, and I'm over here like,
yeah.
I cannot remember the last time I've been to the gym. I'm feeling so inspired to get back to the gym or outside or something, some kind of movement.
Outside you're going to get your vitamin D and you're going to get fresh air, and all of that clears out your mind. It gives you, that fresh, just it's a kind of a rinse.
So healing.
Um,
Yeah.
the physical exertion is the sweat. Like you won't come into contact with illnesses or airborne things, and you'll sweat it right back out. So I don't get sick.
Right.
Um, There's a reason that I don't look my age, and it's because I've lifted weights and ran and done all of the things since my 20s. And I really think that I don't doubt my bone density at all, because you have to do weight bearing loads to strengthen your bones, and that's how I keep the bone density going. So there's lots of anti-aging reasons to do it, anti-stress, pro-release, all kinds of really positive things that come out of being physically active, hard physical activity.
Right. Weight bearing. I'm heading into, on February, I'll be turning 40, and I keep hearing this that I have to start lifting weights.
Yeah. And you need a trainer for a little while to show you proper form so that you don't get hurt, unless you've already had that training.
No, not really. Yeah, I'd be winging
It,
it.
it wouldn't take long. Just have somebody show you different routines, specific form where you won't get hurt. If you do it wrong, you will get hurt.
Yeah. Okay.
CrossFit's really fun. CrossFit will kill you, but it's
CrossFit.
fun. It's amazing.
Okay. Hey, don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah, and they'll start you on the baby level.
Okay.
There
Oh God,
are
I would
there are
hate that.
small levels. Yep. And it builds fast, and it combines cardio, and it combines functional lifting, and then Olympic deadlifting or Olympic weightlifting, multiple different lifts. Super fun. You can't get bored. Super hard. But it's done and over in 20 or 30 minutes. You're done.
Okay, right. It probably feels amazing. It sounds amazing. Okay. That's what I'm going to extract from your self-care is like, I got to get back moving again and weightlifting in particular and
So
make it
there's
fun.
rules.
Get
So there,
outside.
there's rules. So like with CrossFit schedules, you can do 3 days on, 1 day off. You could do that with any routine, or you could go 5 days on, 2 days off. So that's a couple of rules you can play around with.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
and another rule is never go more than 2 weeks without exercising.
Mm. Let yourself off the hook if you had a vacation that one week, but get back to it.
It's hard for me to chill out or relax if I don't exercise, even if I'm on vacation or out of town. I struggle with it. It's just so much of a lifestyle for me.
Yeah.
So
That is beautiful. Okay, well, I hope this is inspiring other people the way it is for me. Thank you so
that'd
much,
be great.
Dawn.
You're welcome.
Dawn is my middle name, by the way. I wanted to tell you that my mom's older sister is Dawn, so I was named after her and she was my favorite aunt and I love my middle name because of her and whatever else. It took me a long time to get to the place where I don't mind my first name, but I secretly love my middle name more. So I got excited when I
That's
saw
awesome.
your
That's really
name.
awesome. Well, I have really enjoyed this, and I'd be happy to help you along the way. You just let me know what you need. If you want some feedback on stuff that you're writing or training that you're doing, just let me know.
Oh my gosh, I would be so intimidated slash honored to send you the things that
Oh,
I create trying to pull this all together. But yeah, if you ever have time or willingness,
oh yeah.
once I finally get to a place where I'm completing it, oh,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
intimidating to do it, but I would love to have your feedback. So thank you. I will take you up on that.
Well, I don't know what's intimidating. If it's the big words, we need to shrink those down for everybody else too.
I think I'm just intimidated because I've never done anything like this before, and you are really the expert on this, and I'm over here just trying to understand it and trying to give it out. So, yeah, but it's good. That's good to have
You did
you
great. You did
like
great.
uh,
You did great.
well, thank you,
And
Dawn.
so if you have somebody else like me on your show or on, just let them know that's a little bit above my head. Can you break it down a little bit? Go ahead and say it because we don't know unless you tell us.
Right. And you do it every day, all day. So it's so natural for you. I'm just like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So just let me know if you need help.
Thank you so much, Don. You've been
You're
a
welcome.
pleasure to speak with. And again, I hope this is not goodbye. I just hope it's see you later. Talk to you
No, it's
later.
absolutely see you later. You have my number, you've got all my information. Just stay in contact whenever you want.
That is so beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna hit stop record, but don't go anywhere because I just want to say goodbye to you a
All
little
right.
bit more. Okay.